Thunder rolled over Bright City just before midnight. Outside a white marble mansion, a tired village woman named Anita stood in the rain. Her wrapper was dirty, and her hands shook as she held a rusty hoe. Camera flashes popped around her like fireflies. Up on a bright balcony, her husband Samuel looked down. He wore a dark suit and a calm smile. Reporters shouted questions, guards waited for an order. Anita's voice cut through the storm. "You stole my life, Samuel. Tonight the whole country will know." No one understood why a once rich wife was threatening her own husband with a farm tool. But every face in the crowd asked the same quiet question. What would I do if this were my family? 6 weeks earlier. The rain tapped gently on the rooftop of Samuel's mansion as he stood by the wide glass window, lost deep in thought. He was one of the wealthiest men in Bright City, owner of several companies, fleets of expensive cars, and grand properties. Yet in the silence of that massive home, Samuel felt like a stranger. His wife, Anita, only smiled when there was money to spend. His daughter Bella filled her days snapping pictures and flaunting luxury online. Only his son, Joshua, stayed close, quietly observing the loneliness that money could never cure. One evening, Samuel sat at the long dining table, watching his family eat. Anita didn't even glance at him. Bella was glued to her phone, giggling at something meaningless. Only Joshua noticed his sadness. "Dad, are you okay?" he asked softly. Samuel gave a small smile. "I'm fine, son." But deep inside, he wasn't. He was tired. Tired of fake smiles. Tired of being surrounded by people who loved the money, not the man. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Samuel made a decision that would change everything. He picked up his phone and called his loyal personal assistant, Peter. "Peter," Samuel said calmly, "transfer all company accounts into a private account. Close the offices temporarily. Tell everyone I'm taking an indefinite break. And most importantly, no one, not even Anita, must know I'm still rich." Peter hesitated. "Sir, are you sure? This will shake your whole family." Samuel's voice didn't waver. "That's the plan, Peter. I need to test them." The next morning, Samuel gathered everyone in the living room. Anita strolled in, frowning. "Why are we up so early?" she grumbled, checking her nails. Samuel took a deep breath. "I have bad news. I lost everything. The companies crashed. The banks froze our accounts." He lowered his head. "We have nothing left." Anita jumped up, her voice sharp. "What do you mean, nothing? You're joking, right?" "I wish I was," Samuel said, his voice cracking just a little. "We have to leave this house today. The only place left is my late father's house in Umoma village." Bella screamed. "Village? God forbid. Me, Bella, living in a dusty village?" Joshua quietly asked, "Are you serious, Dad?" Samuel nodded. "Yes, son, it's the only way." Anita exploded. "You useless man, how can you lose everything like this? What kind of man are you?" Samuel didn't respond. He simply turned and walked away, his heart heavy. Joshua followed him. "Don't worry, Dad," he said softly, gripping his father's hand. "Everything will be okay." Samuel smiled weakly. A tear escaped his eye. "Thank you, son. You don't know how much that means to me." By evening, the mansion was a ghost house. No maids, no drivers, only silence. Samuel drove the family in a small battered car Peter had arranged. The road to Umoma village was rough, dusty, and long. Anita complained at every bump. Bella refused to wind down her window, covering her nose like the air itself was poisonous. Only Joshua smiled softly, holding his father's hand from the back seat. After hours, they arrived at a tiny compound with a single house built with mud bricks and topped with a rusting iron roof. Anita stepped out of the car and looked around in horror. "What is this?" she shrieked. "Samuel, are you mad? You expect me to live in this horror movie?" Bella opened her door slowly, scrunching her nose. "Ew, what's that smell? This place stinks." Samuel got out, looking around the old house calmly. "This was my father's house," he said. "We'll manage here for now." "Manage?" Anita shouted. "Me, Anita? Manage inside this nonsense after all my years living in mansions? Bella hissed. I'll die here, Daddy. There's no Wi-Fi, no AC, not even a proper mirror. Only Joshua remained silent. He quietly helped his father carry the bags inside. The front door creaked as they opened it. The living room had only 2 cracked plastic chairs and a battered wooden table. Cobwebs hung like decorations, and the air smelled thick with dust and old sweat. Anita refused to enter. You better take me back to the city now, Samuel, she said, crossing her arms. We have no choice, Samuel replied gently. This is all we have. Bella hissed and muttered. I should have stayed with my boyfriend. At least he has an air-conditioned house. Joshua turned to her, his voice calm. Shouldn't we be supporting Dad instead of complaining? Anita shot him a look sharper than a knife. Will you shut up? Must you always talk? Joshua shook his head quietly and continued arranging things with Samuel. That night, as Samuel struggled to boil water outside with firewood, his fingers clumsy from years of luxury, Joshua came to his side. I used to watch the village boys do this during holidays, Joshua said softly, arranging the sticks properly and blowing into the fire. Samuel looked at his son with pride. Thank you, son. You're making this bearable. Meanwhile, Anita sat on a rock, fanning herself with a dirty palm leaf fan, lamenting her broken nails. No cream, no TV, not even a fan, she muttered. God punish poverty. Bella, holding her dead phone high in the air, whined, There's no Instagram here, no Snapchat. Are we even in Nigeria? That night, they all slept on the same mattress laid across the dusty floor. No light, only a weak lantern flickering. Mosquitoes buzzed around like tiny devils. Anita cursed under her breath, slapping her arms. Bella twisted and turned, miserable. Samuel lay awake, staring at the cracked ceiling. Joshua lay beside him, gently tapping his shoulder. Dad, don't worry. We'll survive this. Samuel turned, blinking away tears. You're the only reason I still have hope. For the first time in a long time, Samuel felt real love not from his wife or daughter, but from his son. By the next morning, the rooster crowed loudly beside the window, waking everyone with a sharp, annoying scream. Anita jumped up, furious. What kind of nonsense bird is that? Why is it screaming inside my ear? Samuel smiled faintly. It's morning. Time to start our new life. Bella stumbled outside, looking horrible. Her wig was half off, her face swollen with mosquito bites. She scratched her arms and whimpered, I can't do this anymore, I feel sick. Samuel ignored their complaints. He picked up an old rusty hoe. We need to farm, he said. If we want to eat, we must work. Anita burst into laughter so loud the birds in the trees flew away. Did I hear you say farm? Samuel, you want me to go to the farm? God forbid. Bella crossed her arms. Me? Hold a hoe? I would rather die. But Joshua stepped forward, calm and steady. I'll go with you, Dad. Samuel's eyes glistened with tears that he quickly wiped away. Let's go, son. As they walked towards the farmland, Samuel felt something deep in his chest, something warm, something painful. At least one person still stood with him. Joshua. Meanwhile, Anita sat under the mango tree, plotting her escape from this miserable life. As she fanned herself lazily, her eyes caught something interesting, a man standing proudly among a group of gossiping women. He wore fine native clothes, thick gold chains, and had a large, proud belly. It was Chief Kelvin, the village chief of Umuoma. Anita's eyes lit up immediately. A rich man in the middle of all this suffering. Her mind raced. Maybe this village wasn't so hopeless after all. From that moment, Anita's betrayal journey began. Life in the village grew harder every day. The sun was merciless. The heat made their bodies sticky and weak. There was no fridge to cool water, no running tap to fetch it easily, and worst of all, no maids to sweep, cook, or wash. Anita sat under the mango tree every afternoon, wiping her sweaty face and cursing her life. This is not living, she muttered. This is punishment. Bella wasn't coping any better. Her makeup was gone. Her once glamorous hair was now dry and scattered. Wearing mismatched slippers and carrying a leaking plastic bucket, she whispered to Anita, Mommy, we have to do something fast. I can't survive. My skin is becoming dark. Anita spotted Chief Kelvin strolling by.
his gold chains glinting in the sun, two young village girls giggling behind him. "That's the chief," Anita whispered to Bella, her eyes narrowing. "He looks rich." Bella raised an eyebrow. "That's a chief. See how he's shining like a Christmas tree." Without another word, Anita stood up, adjusted her wrapper, and began to swing her hips dramatically as she approached him. "Good afternoon, sir," she greeted sweetly, bowing a little. Chief Kelvin smiled widely, flashing tobacco-stained teeth. "Well, well, who do we have here? You're not from around here, are you?" "No, sir," Anita said, lowering her voice to a soft whisper. "My husband brought us here after he lost everything. It's been so hard for us." Chief Kelvin chuckled and waved for her to sit beside him under his shaded hut. "A fine woman like you shouldn't suffer," he said. Sit. Let's talk." Within minutes, one of the young girls brought Anita a cold malt drink. She sipped it slowly, laughing at the chief's silly jokes, while Samuel and Joshua sweated under the unforgiving sun, digging hard soil with blistered hands. Back at the farm, Samuel wiped his forehead and said, "This land is tough, but we must keep going." Joshua smiled. "We can plant cassava here and maize on the other side." "Smart boy," Samuel said proudly. "You're learning fast." They worked for hours before trudging home, tired but hopeful. When they arrived, they found Anita already there, smiling and whistling a strange sight. Samuel frowned. "Where are you coming from?" Anita shrugged casually. "I just went walking around. Some village women showed me how to fetch water and wash clothes." Samuel raised an eyebrow, smelling her expensive perfume, not smoke, not firewood. But he said nothing. Joshua, too, noticed her spotless hands and shiny wrapper, but kept quiet. That evening, Bella slipped out quietly and went to the village's only small bar. Men sat outside drinking palm wine, shouting loudly at each other over blaring music. She sat at the corner, pretending to scroll through her dead phone. It didn't take long. A fat, greasy man named Mr. Felix, owner of a small village shop, waddled over. "You're too beautiful to be sitting alone," he said, grinning foolishly. Bella smiled flirtatiously. "I'm not from here." "I can see that," he said, licking his lips. "What's a fine city girl like you doing in this dusty place?" "My stupid father lost all his money," Bella said without shame. "Now we're suffering here." Mr. Felix leaned closer. "I can make you comfortable, small money, small gifts, no strings attached." Bella raised an eyebrow. "What about your wife?" he chuckled. "She doesn't have to know." Bella smiled slyly. "Okay, but you must keep your word." And just like that, Bella stepped into the secret life of betrayal too. Meanwhile, Samuel sat outside the small house under the stars with Joshua. "Dad," Joshua asked softly, "do you think we'll ever go back to the city?" Samuel looked up at the sky. "Maybe, but not until I know who truly deserves it." Joshua frowned, not fully understanding. Samuel placed a hand on his son's shoulder. "You'll understand soon, son." In the quiet darkness of Umuoma village, Samuel's test had just begun, and already, the painful truths were starting to show. Each day in Umuoma village chipped away at Anita's pride. The mornings started early, without breakfast in bed. No warm showers, no smooth, perfumed creams. Instead, she woke up to fetch water with cracked buckets and eat dry cassava dipped in pepper soup without a single piece of meat. One morning, tying her wrapper loosely around her chest, Anita grumbled loud enough for the whole village to hear. "What kind of miserable life is this? Samuel, I didn't marry you for this nonsense." Samuel, seated quietly outside, watched her with sad eyes. "We're lucky to even have a roof over our heads," he said simply. Anita hissed and stormed back inside, muttering curses under her breath. But while Samuel struggled quietly, Anita was hatching a new life plan. Each afternoon she would secretly dress up in her best wrapper, spray the last drops of her expensive perfume, and disappear towards the only hotel in the village Golden Moon Lodge. There, Chief Kelvin sat like a king in room 7, waiting for her with roasted meat, cold malt drinks, and fat promises. He had even bribed the hotel receptionist, a young girl named Joy, slipping her small brown envelopes weekly. "Remember,
If my wives ask questions, you never saw me here, Chief Kelvin whispered, smiling slyly.
Yes, Chief. I didn't see anything, Joy would reply nervously. In that cheap room, Anita laughed freely, drinking malt and dreaming of a golden future. One sunny afternoon, Anita entered room 7 wearing her brightest wrapper and widest smile. Chief Kelvin sat on the bed in a white singlet and shorts, gold chain dangling on his sweaty chest. "My queen," he called out, chewing roasted meat. "You look more beautiful every time." Anita giggled sweetly, sitting beside him. "You just know how to make a woman feel special." Chief Kelvin pushed a piece of meat gently into her mouth and whispered, "Let me tell you something special today." "I'm listening, Chief," Anita said, her eyes shining. "I'm sending all my 4 wives away," he announced proudly. "I'm tired of them. You're the only woman I need." Anita gasped in fake shock. "All your wives?" "Yes," he nodded seriously. "And soon the king of this village will die. He coughs like a broken generator." Anita leaned closer, excitement buzzing through her veins. "And guess who the elders want to make king next?" Chief Kelvin tapped his own chest proudly. "Me?" Anita's jaw dropped. "So, I will become queen?" Chief Kelvin smiled. "Queen Anita, I will build you a palace, gold jewelry, servants, cars, everything." He pulled out a small bundle of money, crisp 1,000 naira notes. "Here, 20,000 naira. Buy yourself new wrappers. Next week, we'll start building your new house." Anita grabbed the money like it was a treasure chest. "Chief, may your enemies never see your back," she praised, laughing sweetly. They stayed together till evening. When it was time to leave, Joy opened the back door quietly so no one would see Anita sneaking out. Walking home under the orange sunset, Anita's heart danced with dreams. She couldn't wait to tell Bella. Back at home, Samuel and Joshua sat outside fixing a broken bench. Joshua looked up, frowning. "Where's Mom again?" Samuel sighed. "She said she went to fetch firewood, or join the women's group." Joshua shook his head sadly. "She doesn't even know how to hold firewood, Dad." When Anita finally returned, she dropped a nylon bag filled with fresh meat, canned fish, and bottles of oil. Samuel blinked. "Where did you get all these?" Anita smiled sweetly. "Oh, a kind woman at the market gave them to me. Her husband is a big trader." Samuel wanted to question her, but he simply nodded and turned away. That night, Anita prepared a rich meal, but only for herself and Bella. Samuel and Joshua had to drink gari water for dinner. Inside their small, dusty room, Anita whispered everything about Chief Kelvin to Bella. Bella's eyes widened in excitement. "Mommy, are you serious?" Anita nodded proudly. "He's even richer than your father ever was." Bella giggled wickedly. "If I find my own rich chief here, I swear I'll never return to Bright City." They laughed together like 2 wicked sisters, not knowing the storm that was gathering over their heads. The sun was cruel that afternoon, baking the dusty village roads. Villagers moved about slowly, carrying loads of firewood and buckets of water. Bella sat outside their compound, chewing gum lazily and scrolling through her phone, even though there was no network. She wore a shiny, tight dress Mr. Felix had given her, a married man she was now secretly seeing. That same Mr. Felix had lied to his wife the night before, saying he was attending a men's meeting in a neighboring town. Instead, he had taken Bella into the bush path behind his farm, hiding under the trees for hours. But in villages, secrets don't hide for long. That afternoon, as Bella sat outside looking proud, a loud voice shattered the quiet. "Where is that shameless girl? Come out here now!" It was Mrs. Agnes, the angry wife of Mr. Felix. Bella looked up lazily, crossed her legs and snapped her chewing gum. "Yes? Who's shouting like a mad woman?" Mrs. Agnes stormed into the compound. "You! Stay away from my husband, you little home-wrecker!" Bella laughed loudly. "Your husband? Madam, I beg, don't disgrace yourself. He came to me!" Mrs. Agnes's eyes turned red. "Shut your mouth. I've been married to him for 18 years, and now you, small rat, want to scatter my home?" Bella stood up slowly, tilting her head arrogantly. "Look at you. You look like old cassava. That's why he chose me." The villagers nearby gasped. "You're insulting me!" Mrs. Agnes shouted, trembling. Bella stepped closer, smiling mockingly.
Old woman, you can't fight me. Your husband wants fresh skin, not wrinkled mangoes. Mrs. Agnes raised her hand to slap Bella, but dropped it, trembling with rage. God will judge you, she said, tears rolling down her cheeks. She turned and stormed away, leaving whispers and judgment hanging in the air. But hidden behind a broken chair nearby, Samuel had heard every single word. He stepped out slowly. Bella, he called softly. She rolled her eyes. Oh, great. Another lecture. Samuel walked closer, his heart breaking. Is it true? Are you sleeping with that woman's husband? Bella picked at her nails. So what if I am? Samuel's voice shook with pain. My daughter. This is wrong. You're young. You have a future. Why would you destroy another woman's home? Bella hissed. Please, Daddy, mind your own business. Samuel's heart cracked a little more. Bella, I am your father, he whispered. She snapped sharply. Which father? The one who dragged us from a mansion into this dirty village? The one who made us smell like firewood and drink gari? Samuel blinked, hurt beyond words. I know it's hard now, he tried to say. But what? Bella cut him off. But nothing. I hate this life. You ruined everything. Tears burned Samuel's eyes, but he forced himself to stay strong. I'm only asking you to stop before it's too late, he whispered. Bella laughed bitterly. Too late for what? Your advice doesn't matter anymore. I'll do whatever it takes to survive. She stormed back into the house, leaving Samuel standing alone in the dusty yard, broken and defeated. Joshua watched from the window, his fists clenched in silent pain for his father. That night, Samuel sat alone outside, staring at the moon. The sky was beautiful, but his heart was dark and heavy. The loyalty test he had planned had revealed more than he had ever expected. It had uncovered a bitter truth. He was living with strangers, not family. The morning breeze was cool the next day, but inside the tiny house, the air was heavy with silence. Joshua stood by the door, watching as Anita dressed up again, this time in her finest wrapper, bold earrings, and thick, poorly drawn red lipstick. He stepped closer, his voice calm but firm. Mother, he said. Anita turned slowly, adjusting her blouse. What is it again, Joshua? Joshua folded his arms. I want to talk to you. Please listen. She sighed impatiently. If it's another sermon about my life, just keep it. I've heard enough. Joshua didn't move. He stared at her, sadness deep in his eyes. Mother, he said softly, this life you're living, the one you and Bella have chosen, it's not good. Anita chuckled dryly. Let them talk. Talk is free. Joshua stepped closer. It's not just gossip. It's about respect. It's about your dignity. Anita's face tightened, but she said nothing. What happened to the strong woman I used to know? Joshua continued. The mother who taught me about hard work, about self-respect? Anita looked away, her voice cold. That woman died the day your father failed us, when he dragged us from riches to shame. Joshua swallowed hard. He's still your husband, he said. Anita snapped. He used to be. Now he's just a broke old man who can't even buy soap. Joshua took a deep breath. So, because the money is gone, love is gone too. Anita laughed bitterly. Love. Who eats love? Who wears love? Joshua stepped forward, his voice low but sharp. Even if you're angry, Mother, is this the solution? Dressing up and running around the village like a teenager? Betraying your family? Anita picked up her cheap handbag defiantly. Since your father chose to be useless, let him enjoy the fruits of his uselessness alone. Joshua shook his head. The man you're following around Chief Kelvin, what has he given you that's better than what Dad ever gave? Anita raised her chin proudly. He gives me attention. He makes me feel seen. Joshua's voice dropped even lower. He gives you small, dirty change, small wrappers, empty promises. Anita's face darkened with anger. You used to fly to Lagos just to buy hair, Joshua continued. Now you smile because someone gave you 5,000 naira. Watch your mouth, Joshua. I'm still your mother, Anita snapped. I know, Joshua said, tears welling up in his eyes. And that's why it hurts so much. Anita looked away, pretending to adjust her wrapper again. "Your father will never rise again," she muttered. "He's finished." Joshua stared at her with burning eyes. "You don't know the future," he said fiercely, "and when he rises again, you will regret every word you said today." Anita laughed coldly. "Let's see who will rise, your hopeless father or my future palace." She grabbed her bag and marched out of the house. Joshua stood there, trembling, trying to control the tears that threatened to spill. His heart was broken not just for his father, but for the mother he had lost long ago. Anita walked alone on the dusty village road, swinging her handbag proudly. In her mind, she pictured herself living in luxury again, soft beds, glittering jewelry, servants bowing. But suddenly, a sharp voice cut through the afternoon heat. "Husband snatcher, so this is the road you pass every day to see the chief?" Anita turned quickly. Standing at the roadside, arms crossed, was Nkechi, one of Chief Kelvin's real wives. Anita raised an eyebrow. "Look at this local woman. Who invited you to talk to me?" Nkechi stepped forward, anger blazing in her eyes. "You that used to claim you were a billionaire's wife. Now you're chasing after a fake chief wearing plastic gold." Anita froze. "What did you say?" "You heard me," Nkechi said, laughing bitterly. "His gold is fake. His promises are empty. You left your husband for nothing." Anita's face flushed with anger. "You're just jealous because he picked me." Nkechi stepped closer, face to face. "He picked you because you opened your legs. That's all." In a flash, Anita pushed her. Nkechi pushed back. Within seconds, the two women were dragging each other's wrappers, rolling in the dust, shouting and cursing like market women. Children and villagers gathered, laughing and shaking their heads. "Come and see city woman fighting for chief," a boy shouted. When Anita finally broke free, she adjusted her wrapper and stormed away, breathing heavily, her pride shattered. She didn't stop until she reached the Golden Moon Lodge. Banging on Chief Kelvin's door, she pushed inside without waiting. Chief Kelvin looked up lazily from his plate of food. "What is it now?" he asked. "I just fought your wife on the road," Anita shouted. "She said your gold is fake, that you're poor." Chief Kelvin chuckled, wiping his mouth. "And you believed her?" Anita folded her arms. "Let me see your gold. Let me touch it." Chief Kelvin stood up slowly, anger flashing across his face. "Are you mad?" he barked. "Do I look like a fool to you?" Anita's voice trembled. "I used to wear real diamonds, real gold. Our toilets had gold handles. I know the difference." Chief Kelvin laughed coldly. "And yet you left all that to follow me. You're the foolish one." Anita gasped. "You heard me," he shouted. "If poverty could move your heart, you have no value. You're cheap." Anita's hands shook. "So that's what you think of me?" she whispered. "Yes," he snapped. "At least my real wives stayed with me when I had nothing. You ran from one poor man to another like a stray dog." Tears filled Anita's eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "God will judge you," she cried. "Get out of my room," Chief Kelvin barked. "And don't come back." Anita turned and ran out, her chest burning with shame. As she stumbled through the village streets, villagers whispered loudly. "See the city woman," one said. "She thought she was special," another added. "Now see her, walking like a lost goat." Anita pulled her wrapper tightly and quickened her steps, pretending not to hear them, but their words followed her like heavy stones on her back. When she reached the compound, she collapsed on a stone, burying her face in her hands. The dreams of gold, palaces, and luxury had turned to ashes. Her heart felt heavy, her pride broken into pieces. Just then, she heard footsteps. She didn't need to look. She knew it was Samuel. He stood silently before her for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was cold and filled with pain. "I am ashamed of you," Samuel said quietly. Anita looked up, her eyes wild. "What did you say?" "I said I am ashamed," he repeated. "The whole village is laughing at us. They are whispering about your disgrace." Anita stood up slowly. "So you came here to insult me too?" Samuel shook his head sadly. "What kind of woman have you become? From a queen to a roadside fighter?" Anita laughed bitterly. "And who made me fall? You. You failed us. You failed yourself." Samuel said. You threw away your pride for nothing. You chased after fake gold and now even beggars are laughing at you. Anita folded her arms, her voice shaking with anger. If you're done talking, leave me alone. This village belongs to me now. You're nobody. Samuel's eyes filled with sadness, but he said nothing more. He simply turned and walked away. The next morning, Anita sat outside on a cracked plastic chair, staring into space. Samuel came out of the small house, his old bag packed neatly in one hand. He stood quietly before her. I got a job, he said. Anita barely glanced at him. And so? In Bright City, Samuel continued, his voice calm. As a security man. It's small, but it's a start. Joshua stepped out behind him, carrying a small bag too. Samuel added, I told Joshua, we'll be leaving tomorrow. Anita burst into cruel laughter. Security man, you, Samuel. So you want me to follow you to Bright City and become Madam Security Wife? Samuel looked at her with sad, tired eyes. I didn't ask you to follow me. You made your choice long ago. Anita laughed louder, wiping fake tears from her eyes. Go. I prefer staying in this village. At least here I can breathe freely without poverty choking me. Samuel nodded slowly. So be it. The next day, at dawn, Samuel and Joshua packed their few belongings into an old bag. They walked down the dusty road to the village motor park, not looking back even once. Behind them, Anita and Bella sat outside the house, laughing loudly. Finally, peace, Bella shouted. Anita stretched her legs and smiled proudly. No more useless prayers and lectures. Now we can live our lives freely. Bella giggled. No more Joshua asking where I'm going or when I'll be back. Anita clapped. Good riddance to bad rubbish. Let them go and suffer in the city. They both laughed like queens who had just won a great battle, unaware that their true loss had only just begun. Meanwhile, in Bright City, Samuel and Joshua stepped down from the bus and walked through the bustling streets. Cars zoomed past. People hurried along the sidewalks. Tall glass buildings shimmered in the morning sun. Joshua looked around, confused. Dad, where are we going? Samuel smiled slightly, a mysterious glint in his eye. Come, son. They walked for a few more minutes until they reached a huge black gate guarded by security cameras and lined with flowers. Joshua stopped in his tracks. The house behind the gate was a mansion, bigger, finer, and more beautiful than anything he had ever seen. Large windows, a giant fountain, expensive cars parked neatly outside. Joshua's mouth fell open. Daddy, whose house is this? Samuel chuckled softly. This, Joshua. This is our home. Joshua turned sharply to his father, his face filled with confusion. But I thought we were poor. Samuel smiled, a small tear shining in his eye. We were never really poor, son. I needed to teach your mother and sister a lesson. I needed to know who truly valued family and who was only chasing luxury. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small remote. With one click, the big black gate swung open. Joshua stared as they walked up the beautiful driveway. The sweet smell of roses filled the air. Soft music floated from the open windows. Joshua shook his head, still trying to understand. So, all that suffering in Umuma village, it was a test? Samuel nodded. Yes, son. I needed to see who would stay with me when the money disappeared. You stayed, Joshua. You never left my side. Joshua's eyes filled with tears. But Mom and Bella? Samuel's face grew harder. They made their choices. I gave them the chance to come with us. They laughed, they mocked. Now they must live with their choices. Joshua walked slowly into the living room, running his hand across the soft leather sofa, gazing at the shining marble floors and glittering chandeliers. Everything was beautiful. Everything was perfect. He turned to his father, serious. Dad, I'm not happy you had to suffer like that, but I'm proud of you. I understand now. Samuel placed his hands on Joshua's shoulders. I'm proud of you too, son. You showed me what real loyalty looks like. They hugged tightly, father and son, a bond stronger than any riches. Meanwhile, back in Umuma village, Anita and Bella lounged lazily outside the cracked mud house. The afternoon sun beat down heavily, but they felt no shame,
only false pride. Suddenly, a slim, sweaty man walked into their compound, holding a rolled-up newspaper. It was Chinedu, the village gossip. He greeted them respectfully. "Good afternoon, Madam Anita, Sister Bella." Anita waved him off lazily. "What is it, Chinedu? You want to beg for salt?" Chinedu shook his head eagerly. "No, madam. I just came back from Bright City yesterday. And guess what I saw?" Bella yawned. "If it's not about money or fashion, please keep your gist to yourself." Chinedu smiled mischievously. "It's about your husband, Mr. Samuel."
Anita sat up, frowning. "What about him?" Chinedu licked his lips, enjoying the drama. "He is rich again. Very rich. I saw it with my own eyes. He's living in a big mansion finer than the one you people lost before. Big cars, big fountain, security guards. Everything." Anita stared at him for a moment, then burst into loud laughter. "You must be drunk, Chinedu. Samuel? Rich again? Ha, 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 ha." Bella joined her, laughing even harder. "Maybe the city sun fried your brain, Chinedu. Our daddy rich again? Never." Chinedu scratched his head, confused. "But I saw him. I even saw Joshua with him. They were dressed like millionaires." Anita stood up, placing her hands on her hips. "Listen, Chinedu, that house belongs to his boss. Samuel is now a security man, a gatekeeper. Maybe they allowed him to press remote control once, and you foolishly thought it was his house." Bella nodded. "My daddy? Ha! He must be washing cars for the real owner." Chinedu frowned, but said nothing more. He could see they didn't want to believe the truth. "I just thought you should know," he said quietly. "Now you know we don't care," Anita snapped. "Carry your village gist and go." Chinedu shook his head sadly and walked away. As soon as he left, Anita turned to Bella with a wicked smile. "I didn't want to say anything in front of him. But guess what?" Bella's eyes widened. "What, Mommy?" Anita lowered her voice proudly. "The king has proposed to me. Very soon I will be Queen Anita." Bella screamed with excitement. "Queen Mommy, I'm so happy for you." Anita beamed. "I'll live in the palace, wear royal beads, have servants, real royalty." Bella giggled. "Me too. That married man I'm seeing said he wants to divorce his wife and marry me." They both clapped and laughed, their heads full of foolish dreams, not knowing that the real crown, the real treasure, had already slipped through their fingers forever. Time was ticking, truth was marching closer, and soon they would face the final consequences of their pride and betrayal.